Okay, we are. Hello again. I am Wario, and I'm filling in for Mario. We just got off with Matthew Ho. Matthew teed up Karen perfectly, and he had very good and wonderful things to say about Karen. So I'm happy to have retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski here with us to kind of walk us through. We were just talking right before I said, let's go live. I don't want to miss this. In my opinion, and I think in yours as well, from a strategic position, which is what matters. That's what war's about, is the strategic side. The United States has lost the war.
Yeah.
So first of all, this proposed deal, the Omani-Iranian deal that Bessent and Trump are saying, yeah, we're gonna sign off on tomorrow, supposedly.
Wow.
First of all, is this going to happen? And second of all, is this like the final, the end of war, or is this just another pause?
Yeah. Well, first off, I don't know what they're talking about in signing off on the deal, because as I understand it, the deal is simply between Oman and Iran. So like, what's our role? We're going to butt in, we'd like to sign it. And of course we wouldn't like to sign it, because what they're talking about is how they're going to control who's going in and who's coming out and which ways they're doing it. And it excludes U.S., it's irrelevant what the U.S., we're just going to be a customer. We're going to be like, oh, it's a U.S. flagship. This is how we go in because Iran says so. And this is how we go out because Oman agrees and Iran supervises. So it's like a working document. Maybe they have, but it's not between us. So I don't know what Bessent is talking about. Now, there could be some other things with the Pakistanis, or doing it, or I don't know who else is talking, but we had nothing is going to get better than what we had at the MOU, because that took quite a while. And that actually did have Trump's people. I can't say America's people because it was Kushner and Witkoff. You know how I feel about them. But it was Trump's people, Trump's representatives. And of course, Vance was there a few times, and they worked out something, which was a surrender document. It was basically 60 days ending war, but it was the outline of how the future is going to look for us in the Middle East. Our bases are going to be out of there. We aren't going to hold their money anymore that we've seized and frozen for decades. We are going to submit to whatever arrangement that the Persian Gulf Strait Authority comes up with, which is what the deal they're talking about right now is how we're going to nuts and bolts on that. Israel's going to get out of Lebanon. All these things. This was the best we were going to get. It's going to get worse from here on out, because we've lost, and apparently we don't get that we've lost. I think what really frustrates me is the military doesn't understand it. And I think part of the problem is, we are a 20th century military. We have fought nobody that could fight us back. And I disagree with, who is it? General Leitch, who runs the Eisenhower Media Network. He says, well, we won one war since World War II. And that was first Gulf War in, 91?
Yeah.
And that's, I don't count that a win, because we went in with Army, Navy, Air Force, everything, allies, unified, all this stuff. And Iraq didn't even have an Air Force or a Navy. They had Saddam's army.
Technically it was the fourth largest army in the world, but
But think about what we were going in with. We had a good, well-trained army. Maybe he had a good, well-trained army, but we had an integrated battle.
Oh, we were a generation ahead of them.
Oh yeah, at least. And then we planned for it, and they definitely, pumped up the domestic support for it, telling all those lies about Kuwaiti incubators being dumped over and all this other stuff. And we controlled that whole thing. April Glasby, who was our ambassador there, we told her, she said, well,
poor April.
Saddam's talking about, So she's saying, reporting back, hey, I got a problem. Saddam says they're slant drilling our oil. Kuwaitis are stealing Iraqi oil. He's getting really ticked off about it. And he thinks he's going to just he's going to go do something. What's our take on this, Mr. State Department boss? I want to know. And they said, oh, no problem. Just let it go. It's no big deal. He has to do what he has to do. And they threw her under the bus because we clearly were already planning this thing. Anyway, we put a lot of work.
Well, just don't forget either, the guy who told her
Oh,
was James Baker, who was also not 1 inch east NATO guy.
that's right. You know,
Don't forget that. You know,
can't think
everybody venerates him in DC. I know, because I know a lot of people who knew him. And I always go back to those 2 instances. That alone makes him suspect.
So really, it's old news that you can't trust an American diplomat. It's old news. This is like, what do you mean? You didn't learn that this war. This is the way we operate. But anyway, so I don't consider that a victory that tested us. And even if it was 91. So that's 91, 40 years ago.
Almost.
Yeah. So
Jeez.
we haven't, we don't know what it is. We don't know what it is to fight. And you know, our plan with Ukraine, we're not physically fighting in there, even if we have CIA, even if we have contractors, it doesn't matter. We are letting the Ukrainians die to harm Russia, to, you know, help make NATO more excited about being NATO.
That's okay. The Israelis are fighting to the last American in Iran. So
yeah, exactly. You know, when they do the post-war analysis of all this, and you look at Ukraine, and it's going to be very interesting reading for the academics and the people that were there who write these stories and these books. It's going to be fun because you know, it's crazy. But anyway, we don't know what we're doing in fighting somebody that can fight back. Okay, they can seriously fight back over the long term, because even I think by early May, a couple months, you know, Iraq had folded basically. Well, it folded, and then we turned we turned the military loose, like, whatever, and let them.
The highway to hell or whatever. Yeah. So
anyway, again, we didn't know what we're doing then either, but I guess the enemy couldn't force us into the position that Iran has.
It also wasn't technically a war constitutionally.
Well, no, we haven't had a constitution.
We have since 1945.
Maybe we should remind everybody. Yeah, we don't declare war anymore. We just make these things. And anyway,
the president wakes up like a king and says, "I'm going to go into Iran today," and everybody goes, "Yeah, okay."
It's so well, you know, our Constitution is really not followed in so many ways. It's just not a. I mean, it was a great idea, I guess, at the time. That's the best they had, and it was good for a time. But it's you know, people don't want, governments are just, they're entities, they're organisms, and they don't like restraint any more than any other growing organism wants to be restrained. And the Constitution is meant to restrain it. It's just a piece of paper, and we, the people, are kind of cut out of that, you know. Well, also, we don't want to restrain it, right? Social Security, that's not in the Constitution, but hey, give it to me. I want that. You know, so it's like, you know, it's a, well, we haven't learned.
It is amazing. They can't figure out how to get better quality teachers and pay teachers more, but they can find all kinds of way to get, you know, weapon systems that have decreasing utility in today's age.
That's right.
You know?
And we're caught. Our system is loving this war, because we now need badly our long range, mid range, interceptor type, everything. We need it. We need everything we had. We've wasted so much of it, and a lot of it in Iran, a lot of it in Ukraine, and Ukraine. And now we have to buy it under time pressure. So we're modifying contracts, right? We're saying, hey, I need more than I said. And that's just, you know, money. That's money. They love that. And
they still won't deliver, though. I mean, that's another key thing to understand, is they'll take the money and they'll give you the promise, but they're not going to deliver.
No. And also, see, I'm a little bit concerned that that's the plan anyway. That this, you know, for decades, you know, our military industrial complex, congressional complex, you know, the whole thing, it's a little thing that operates, and it needs wars, constant wars and conflicts. And it doesn't want congressionally declared wars, because, you know, those actually engage the American people, and they are more serious, and you have more accountable for those. They want these play wars, which are not play for the people that are getting the crap bombed out of them and having their environment destroyed and all that. But these play wars make money, and we are just addicted to it. Our system is addicted to it. Americans aren't. We've actually, I think, diverged from it a little bit. But, you know,
they've been having there's a chronic, until the last year, supposedly, there's been for like 15 years, 10 years, a chronic recruitment crisis.
That's right.
In the United States Armed Forces.
Sure, because you know, the greatest generation, you know, it was holy war of some sort, World War II. Of course, we can't get into that because obviously we know revisionist history tells us, my God, everything we were taught wasn't true.
We'll be accused of being martyr made and Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, we can't have that. But but the people who felt the way that they felt, because I remember my dad, he wasn't World War II. He was after that, in between World War II and Korea. But I remember during Vietnam, watching the nightly news, because that's what we had, which is so amazing. We had the nightly news and people watched it. And I didn't really know what was going on, but I watched it. But my dad really liked the Vietnam War, supported the military, And now later when he was older, he didn't. But I'm just saying they were cultured to trust the government. If it went to war, it was for a good reason, especially we don't like communists. And so, whatever. It all made sense. The propaganda was simple then. And it's much harder now, but we aren't those people. And we've also watched our government grow massively since my dad was, since the 70s. The government has massively, massively grown. It's out of control. We have no connection to it other than via handouts. Nobody seems to understand, are we at war? Why are we at war? What are we doing? And one of the things we've seen, which I think is both a response to poor recruitment, inability to recruit the people that we would want to have, and also on purpose, is the recycling of our guys. We have a professional cadre of soldiers. I mean, guys going into Afghanistan 4 and 5 tours, Iraq, multiple tours. And then going back as contractors later, as we increasingly depend on contractors, because they're not accountable to the people.
If you want to know the real power, I was told, in the modern military intelligence industrial complex, it is not the regular uniformed people. It's not even the covert CIA people. It is the contractors. That is the secret sauce.
Yeah. I believe it. And that is, it's a symptom of, well, it's not a symptom. It's a sign of where the evolution is in the military industrial complex. And it can't keep going. It's like so many things, it's absolutely unaffordable. And what it's done is wasted our, we're eating our seed corn. Now, our seed corn is 20th century weaponry. Okay. Now, we probably should have fixed that. We probably should have, updated our thinking about, we should have spied on the Russians and the Chinese more, because, they were doing stuff and we were like sitting back thinking, oh yeah, we can beat them because we always beat them. Well, now we're finding out in Ukraine and in, especially in Iran, that, wait a minute, we can't beat them. They're beating us. And there's no plan B for, like, well, what if they start beating us? Now, what if we have to, pull back? When's the last time America had to pull back? I think I mentioned this here. I'm still flabbergasted that we lost an AWACS and nobody said anything.
Yeah. We lost more than one, I thought, didn't we?
Yes, we have lost.
So I actually met.
Who's this?
Yeah. I actually met in March one of the pilots of one of those planes that was destroyed. Really? Yeah, he was a young guy. He was great. He was a phenomenal guy, Arabic speaker. We had lunch, and he told me, because I asked him, I go, what happened? And he goes, it's the damnedest thing. He goes, the thing, we lost him on the tarmac. He goes, we couldn't even take him off. He said, we lost. He goes, I wasn't prepared for this. He goes, I walked out and my plane is gone.
Yeah.
And I had to sit
there. He could have been gone with it. I mean,
right. But you sit there and you think, we were so penetrated by the enemy and outmaneuvered that our guys didn't even get their planes into the air. Yeah, thank God they weren't in the plane, but it was sitting on the tarmac.
I know. Yeah. See, I mean, if we didn't know better, we'd say, well, we must have left it there on purpose to get shot up. Like maybe, we're going to get the American people on board. Of course, they were unresponsive to this because they're already against the stupid war. They see no rationale.
Well, the president didn't sell it either. I mean, come on. He never even made a speech. Yeah.
No. And that was the one thing that I really noticed. I think we talked up Venezuela, and the White House talked up Venezuela way harder than it did Iran. I think
Venezuela would be easy.
Well, maybe that's it. But also, too, Trump's in an Israeli bubble. So they're feeding him all this stuff. It's going to be easy. No big deal. Don't worry. Americans will support you, or whatever. Just the assumption. But again, there's way too many assumptions. And that's how we're basically prosecuting war, based on assumption. And we are assuming, I think we're almost assuming we had a strategy. I just still am wondering what the guys on the receiving end of that email from Cooper's CENTCOM. Hey, you got any ideas?
Yes.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine being on the receiving end of that, or even just saying, like, hearing about it? Yeah, the Intel guy over there, J2 or whatever, he got.
Well, CENTCOM's a mess anyway. CENTCOM's been a mess for 20 years.
But this is where we've been fighting for 20 years. So
I know.
now is there a connection? Come on, what are they learning? The thing I wrote, my latest Substack is kind of a tongue-in-cheek, but Trump's off ramp. I actually think he's got one off ramp, and it's basically declare victory and get the hell out of there, and blame it on some people and fire them. And people, we're going to buy that. I don't care what it is. Fire Cooper, fire Hegseth. You will get points in America by firing those guys, because
he might actually mollify the voters enough to have them reelect a lot of Republicans who wouldn't be reelected if he did
possible.
That.
And he has to be strong with it, because so far all he's doing is tacoing all the time, and so people aren't even paying attention. Only the investors are watching it to see how they can game his whatever.
Well, the Iranians have exposed that too. I don't know if you saw that.
And I don't. And they want part of their proceeds, since they apparently are part of it. but
they got a lot of gumption. You got to give them that. They've got a lot of gumption over there.
They, in some ways, it's more than gumption. I mean, Trump is such an over-the-top guy. Yeah. He's clearly out of his depth, but he doesn't even know it. He is tailor-made for them to hit him right where it hurts, in his ego, or making
in
fun
the media. I mean, those Lego videos are so well done. I talked to Matthew Ho about this in the last hour. I mean, it used to be that the one thing you could count on is that Hollywood and whatnot always gave us a cultural advantage. I got to tell you, we don't have anything comparable. The Iranians are running circles around us there.
That's right. And again, some of this is generational. They are they're an ancient society in some ways, but they got a lot of young people, and they have not tamped down on their young people. You know why people hate the boomers in this country? I mean, and I'm a boomer, I hate them too, honestly, but we shouldn't hate them. I mean, they're just people. They're not, they just happen to be born when they were born. But there's this stereotype, which a lot of it's true, that they hoarded up all the advantages of growth of government and inflation. And it's not untrue to say that. I mean, we have access to capital that has been printed, and we were kind of like, relative to the younger generations, we were like the first users of the counterfeit money. So we got to buy real stuff with it, and they don't. They get to go to the store and somebody confiscates money. Yeah, they get incredible debt, and we're going to die and pass that debt on to the extent we're not paying it. The boomers aren't going to pay that debt. They have no intention of paying it. They think they deserve it. And that is, because that's how they came when they came through the system. But that is kind of our military is the same way. It deserves to win. Our military thinks, we deserve to win. We have all this stuff. We're the ones in power. And the young generation is running circles around it. And I think in Iran, they don't have that boomer thing going on, because first off, the United States and much of the Western our allies, we've been constraining Iran. We've been saying to Iran, first off, you're bad, you're evil, we don't like your revolutionary stuff. We're gonna not buy your stuff. We're gonna penalize people that we're gonna tariff you, and we've been doing it for decades. So the people there are actually not generationally divided. They're unified. Old people, young people. Old people remember the early time. The very old people remember the Shah, and the early revolution, and then the various ayatollahs that have come, and they've served a long time. And then they go, and a new one comes, and so the old people tell the young people, and the young people identify with what the old people are saying. We don't have that in this country. The boomers have a story, and when you tell it to X or Y or Z generations, they're like, what the heck? You're proud of that? You think that's good? And there's a problem. So because we haven't lived the same experience, but the Iranians have lived an experience of nationalism, and they see in the youth the future. And of course, they have the fundamentals down. They're an ancient society that has always valued math and science and philosophy and poetry and art. This is something that has been consistent. And we're a little society of 250 years or so. You know, you could go back before the 250,
yeah.
300. But what do we value? Well, freedom, liberty. Okay, these are amorphous concepts, and we say we value it, and yet
we don't live by it. We don't live by it.
No,
yeah,
we're way down on the list on liberty, economic liberty. Don't have it. Freedom of speech. Better watch out what you say. If you're on a visa, we kick you out. We may debank you if we don't like. If you're an American, we may have to debank you because you're saying things that threaten the government. What in America? And we accept it. And the way we rolled over in COVID gives you a real good example of what we are made of in this country.
We're a broken people. I mean, that's.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
we have not just, the political differences that they exacerbate. Oh, Democrat, Republican, whatever, Trump's trying to say there's commies are coming back. Well, that's not working as well. But those were dividers. But we also have economic dividers. We have the oligarch, rich and poor. And then we have the generational thing. So we have so many different things that pull us apart. Iran doesn't have that. They use their youth. And some kids playing on the computer, making Lego videos, they're like, that's amazing. Whereas us boomers are going, oh, shit, I better not retire because 3 guys are going to take my job. They're going to pay them half what they're paying me. I'm staying on till I drop dead.
You're referring to what's known as the boomer blockade. That's what it's known as in the corporate world.
There you go. And it's a real thing. It's a real
thing.
Yes.
I've given lectures on it.
Oh, no, really? I didn't know that. But it's real, and it is... it weakens our society. It pits us against each other. And in Iran, because they've been isolated in some ways, obviously condemned by the Western world, fought by them periodically. Always, we're constantly doing stuff to them, pot shots on their nuclear energy issues. Israel hits them. We hit them. It never ends. And that unified the people more. Well, anyway, bottom line is, it's one thing for us to say, oh, wake up. Oh, look at Iran. And let's talk about this. Where were the intel guys? Where was the military? They were studying this. I mean, you don't think they should have known all of this stuff about the strength of society? When you hit up a country, well, we did screw up in Vietnam. We thought that wouldn't. We thought, oh, we'll easily win Vietnam in 13, 14, 17, however many years it was. We didn't. But again, we had that in our wheelhouse. Yeah, Vietnam experience. What about that? We also had the Afghanistan experience. What about that? Did we learn anything? And it's like we didn't learn anything. So that really scares me about our military.
Well, yes. And
politicians, but.
Well, and piggybacking onto that, we clearly lost Afghanistan. We clearly lost Iraq. We lost to the Houthis in 2024.
Well, yeah, I didn't even
it's so we were always told Afghanistan, Iraq, they don't matter. These are low threshold wars. They're on the periphery. They're brush wars. Don't worry about it. Okay. Even if you believe that, the Iran war is a higher level war strategically.
Yeah.
And we've lost. It's a much shorter war than any of those other ones. I think the Houthi war was 2 years. The Afghanistan war was the longest war we fought. Iraq, I think, was 11 or 12 years. Technically, we lost. The Iran war has been 6 months barely. And we lost. I was saying we lost by March. I was saying March when I was on with Tucker. I said, we lost.
It was lost on the first week.
Yeah.
Because we were surprised and we had no plan B. We shut down our bases. We have bases. They're getting hit. We can't defend them. And so we just move people out. And when I heard we had our guys in hotels in some of these cities in
Bahrain,
we had them in hotels, get them off the base and put them in hotels. I'm thinking, what military strategy is that one? Yeah. Our base got hit, so we're going to move them in a hotel.
Well, there was no force protection. There was no thought given to force protection. There's a whole office at the Pentagon that does that. And they never had any plans.
Well, and I'm actually, what? It's true. There are offices in Pentagon. There's plenty of people, civilians, military contractors working on these things. And where's the defectors? Where are the whistleblowers that are saying, holy shit, this is not what I signed up for? These guys the guys running this show are clowns. And we told them, we tried to tell them,
want their pensions. They
do
want their
want
pensions. That's
well,
all that is.
remember when
Yeah.
I back in the day when I was so frustrated in the Pentagon before, and I'm writing like stories for Hackworth's page and stuff while I was still in, but then I got out. I mean, I retired. Luckily, I was year 19, so I was able to really have the best of both worlds. I could get out, but I didn't lose my pension or go to Leavenworth. So that was all good. But I remember the guys I talked with and worked with, I didn't come up with these ideas. I was like, I had been picked from one job to another. I didn't want to be there. I wasn't my expertise area. The Middle East certainly wasn't. So I got my education from a bunch of 05s, 06s who I worked with, who were fellow desk officers. And so they're telling me stuff. Now, I'm taking this in, I'm looking at what I already know, and I'm doing my job, and I'm going, holy crap, this is really crazy. This is bad. This is dangerous.
This is during the Iraq War.
Yeah, this is in 2002, 2003. And I left right when the Iraq War started. I basically had a couple more weeks of work, and I was out of the Pentagon. It was all the lead up, the run up, the propaganda, the lies, all that. But looking at it from the OSD level, I had lots of guys teaching me and telling me. Some were civilians, most were military, Army and Navy specifically, Air Force. If I pick on the Air Force, it's probably because I saw more spine in just the guys I worked with who happened to be Army and Navy. But anyway, so a couple of those guys did push back on things in their way, just administratively. And they got told, shut up, do what you're told. And then they called their assignments officers. They all called the assignments and said, "Got curtail my, you have a 3-year term. You punch your ticket in 3 years in the Pentagon. Usually. Most of them don't want to be there, but you got to get that Pentagon tour." And they did it, and they curtailed it. And most people don't curtail a Pentagon tour because it's honestly not bad. I mean, you could have life a lot worse than working at the Pentagon. Okay, everybody knows that. So they don't usually shorten those. Often they will extend them for a year. But both the guys I know, both called. One called his Navy guy, one called his Army guy, and said, "Get me out of here." And I would prefer to be in the. One guy just went totally out, and the other guy got a job at, I think, what was it? It was an acquisition agency, but it was in DC area, so it was not working at OSD. And that's their solution. And why was it? Because
OSD, by the way, is Office of the Secretary of Defense. So everybody, yeah.
But why was it? It was just what you said. They need more. They have to pay mortgages. Kids going to college. Think about a person who is a lieutenant colonel or a colonel. Oftentimes, if they're a guy and they got married and started having kids when they're 20s, these kids are getting ready to go to college. They may not be. It may be a few years out, or they may be a freshman.
Right.
This is where they're at. And if they had more than one kid, they're facing. Because we think college is so necessary. I mean, this is the culture that they're in. And so they have many expenses. They like the lifestyle that they have done. They're burdened by debt, mostly home debt, but who knows? And this is the picture of all Americans. This is why you do COVID. This is why you put a mask on, because I can't lose my job. This is why I take it.
This is why you take 3 vaccines.
Sure, because I can't lose my job now. I'm not ready to do that. It's going to disrupt my family. And so they make these choices, and those are the choices. And maybe that's what's keeping people from,
I think that is.
Yeah, because seriously, this email, I'm fascinated by this request.
So just so everybody knows what she's talking about, CNN has a story in the last 24 hours in which, now there's people I know who are saying this was not real. I happen to think it's real. I think this is because I've worked in the government enough, and I've had some pretty crazy emails in my time. So anyway, but the email, apparently the CENTCOM commander Emerald Cooper sent an email to his team, come up with creative solutions for winning the Iran war. The implication being we got our asses kicked the conventional way, so we don't want to admit that. Let's figure out some crazy way.
They didn't actually say winning, because Trump has already said we're winning. We won it from day one and whatever. We won it every single day since then. That's why we're still fighting, because we won it so many times over. But it was how to creatively hamper or deal with what the Iranians are dishing out. And if you think about it, look, first off, That's not a good strategy in the age of information to send an email like that. No, and
especially one that could be FOIA'd.
Yeah, exactly. So that means they really seriously didn't have an idea, and yet there's one real simple idea, and that is get the hell out of there. That's right, and do it quickly. And you could now, like in my art, my argument for Trump was tongue in cheek because Trump has to be dealt with in a certain way. He must be flattered. He cannot be blamed. Okay, so I went in. My imaginary conversation with him is filled with flattery and telling him who he might blame. And he can blame anybody he wants because he likes to do that. He can fire anybody, but you've got to do that. The truth would be, these admirals and generals need to put their resignation in, and if they do it singly or in a group, anything like that could work. They could. Trump should take responsibility. He's not going to do that. So we're constrained already. The same things that got us into this stupid war and cost the expense and the waste of our our fighting munitions and missiles and everything like that. Our 2 AWACS and how many fighter jets. We're just lucky a ship hasn't sunk, but I'm pretty sure they got the Gerald Ford pretty good. So that's going to come.
I don't think it'll come out ever, but
it'll come out. It'll come out. It'll come out. It'll come out. I'm telling you, people are pissed.
I also think some of our destroyers might have gotten damaged too.
Yeah, it could be. And so the cost of this, the waste and expense.
I don't know. Just to be clear, I don't know anything. I could be very wrong. And this is me speculating.
What if that's kind of the general up at UCOM, I guess it was.
Gernowich, or I can never say his name. Gernowich or whatever.
Yeah, Grenowich or something. Yeah. Anyway, that guy he's getting in the news because he said, well, I need another destroyer or else I'm going to have to make a choice, either defend America or defend Israel.
How is that even a choice, by the way?
Well, it's not a choice. It's very interesting, though, because it could be a stalking horse it could be a lot of things that he's doing there. Because first off, he's clearly, as a general in the United States military, there is never a choice. And if there was, you ain't going to make it. Okay. So you have no business talking about it. You're there to defend American interests. That's it, period. If you're going to say we're going to defend Israel or America, then you've stepped out of your lane big time. And you may be stupid. Maybe you thought you could and you didn't realize it. Or maybe you don't know what's in the Constitution. I don't know. So he could just be dumb, made a dumbass comment, and now he's getting picked on. But he could have said it. He could have said it to kind of stoke the discussion because I think a lot of people in the military are like, why are we fighting for Israel? Why are we fighting for Israel? So it could have been maybe he's thrown into that. He could also be saying, I need to be the next, I need to be the replacement for Raising Cane. Because, once you're a combatant commander 4-star, there's no place to go. There's only one place you can get that you haven't gotten. And that's chairman of the JCS, if you want to keep the uniform on. I mean, maybe you get to be Sec Def later or something, but these guys are ambitious. They're political. They're ambitious. He sees blood in the water with Cooper because Cooper was a golden boy. Trump likes Cooper. So he may.
So does the Secretary of War.
Yes,
Pollyanna Pete.
Right. So maybe this Winklevich or whatever his name is up in UCOM, he's like, hey man, Cooper's star is sinking. This is my opportunity. Let's throw him under the bus. Or he could be a true patriot, and he's hinting that we have lost a destroyer, and he needs another one, and he's hoping some ambitious reporter will get out there and find out what's going on. But I doubt it's the latter.
Let me say this. This is an inject here because I have a lot of dinosaurs that I talk to, and there's one in particular, and this guy is ancient, but he's connected. He has said for months that there is within the top level of uniformed military commanders and some of the intelligence, older graybeards, they are basically quietly creating the conditions. He's convinced that will basically force Trump onto an off ramp by saying, depleted arsenal. We can't keep doing this. Trump says we got to retaliate against Iran. Then their offer is, we'll do a blockade, which will take forever to implement. And he's saying this is all part of a bureaucratic dance they're doing to basically slow walk the president. Now, I'm not convinced of that because I deal with the generals, I deal with the admirals. Generally not that impressive, in my view. Individually, you have some good ones there, but this individual I've been talking to is saying, no, this is all part of a dance. They're all doing it, and they're basically setting the framework and telling the president, sorry, buddy, we can't do it. We're out. Do you think there's any truth to that?
I think that they are seeing the loss in real. I mean, they're seeing it with their own two eyes. They're not stupid. They've been in the military for a while. They know what fighting is like. They've experienced stupidity in the ranks so many years and years. So, and bad presidents, and they've worked for bad presidents, either at younger ranks or more recently. So I'm sure they're concerned about the military that they love, because you don't stay in the military for 35 years if you don't love what you're doing. And there is a sense of devotion, I don't think to the country, but there's a sense of devotion to your organization, right? I mean, it's like anything. It's like a company you build and you put your life into it and you hope that it stays. And then if it goes under, you feel really bad. So I think they don't want the military to go under. And I think they see this is very dangerous. I mean, this is what I see when I hear that, 2 AWACS are shot down, or one's killed one's destroyed on the tarmac, and the other one I think maybe damaged, or who knows. But the loss of these kinds of flagship platforms, and also the radars, these billion-dollar radars and stuff, just blown up by these backward Iranians, so that is going to wake up somebody in the military, because you're going to see, hey, this is gutting what's going to be left, right? So I think there's that concern, but I trust the human ego more than I trust a bunch of, good-minded people who agree that this is bad. Because I think a lot of people in the military probably agree it's bad, but the egos are what's are driving it. These guys want power. Cooper wants, he wants a job. He maybe wants to be the chairman, or he wants a really high-paying job. Wants to run one of these companies, or get. They want stuff for themselves, and they want it more than they care about our country. Because if you cared about our country, and the president said, "Yeah, I woke up the other day, and I thought, let's say January. I woke up in January, and I said, CIA says they're gonna have a revolution over there. We can shape it the way we want it. All we have to do is decapitate all the people, and 3 days later, we'll have a government. It'll be just like Venezuela." Okay, that's stupid talk. And military should have pushed back then, but they didn't. These same guys have egos, and they know you push back against Trump. What does Trump do? What does Hedges do for Trump? Like Hedges said at the congressional hearing he was at a couple months ago. He's like, well, they serve the pleasure of the president. They serve the pleasure of the president. They serve. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And he'll fire you. He'll get rid of you. So these generals, they have, what is a fired general going to be worth as much salary at Raytheon as a winning general, or one has a recommendation of a president, or whatever. So they're looking out after number one, and they're not pushing back. And the ones who really push back, and the way I've always seen it, is the individuals who basically quietly really quit, or quiet quit, because I think the quiet quitting goes on in the military too.
Oh yeah.
So I don't trust them. I think they're all after vanity, and I think the whole world that's watching this war, particularly our competitors, like the Russians and the Chinese, who have studied us for ages, and clearly the Iranians have studied us for ages too. They know exactly how we fight, where our weaknesses are. They've planned this. They haven't planned this per se, but their plan for defense is tailor-made for the United States. They knew,
and the Israelis.
But again, we're fused, right? In a couple months, the Senate will be all totally fused. It'll be all good. U.S. can't, Anyway,
I want to ask you two things that you just brought up back to back, and they're somewhat different. So I'll start with the first one, which is, as I was saying, we've lost the lower threshold war. We told ourselves, oh, that's not a big deal. Now we're losing the medium threshold war. It's a bigger deal, and it's going to have real impacts. The Chinese, there's the USS George Washington was apparently with its strike group deployed to the Philippines to interdict the coast guards of the Philippines and the Chinese that are, fighting each other right now, or were fighting each other. Given how well the Iranians have done, do you think if we go into a war with the near peer competitor, which could happen, like China, do you think that we will win that war?
No, no, I don't think we're going to win any expeditionary war. I think our whole system of expeditionary wars, without the emphasis on what an expeditionary war takes over time, especially if they're extended. And we've had those lessons because we've had these extended wars that were expeditionary, which are actually contradiction of terms. You don't really, it's not like we're who is the guy that marched through the Mongol horde? They're marching through, they're taking what they need, living off the land, whatever, and they keep moving. Okay, that's expeditionary, but they have a logistics plan. They're not calling back to the capital in, East Mongolia or whatever to give us our supplies. Sure, they might take some supplies, but their war machine is not dependent on that. We, on the other hand, we're doing these long, endless expeditionary wars, and we've neglected our logistics side. We've neglected the thing that says, well, you're going to fight a long time, you're going to use up a lot of stuff, and it's going to be expensive, so let's get it cheap. Let's use cheap stuff. I had a question from I forget who it was this morning, and I didn't know anything about it, but it caused me to read an article about the Army and their drone acquisitions. They've been going for a while, actually, but of course now it's even more. And a lot of it's, commercial. We want to be able to manufacture. But the guy they interviewed, some Army colonel or somebody, said that it's been a real struggle in the military-industrial complex on our end to get people to stop thinking about drones as these big, unique systems that go and do something spectacular, and start thinking about them as ammunition. That's right. What he said. And then when he said that, I thought, yeah, that's paradigm change. That's cool. We need to do that. But of course, I guess parts of the military are doing it. But what he was complaining about was, I'm dealing with contractors, I'm dealing with leaders, I'm dealing with old guys that run the military, and they still don't see drones as ammunition, as throwaways, as suicide tools, the sacrifice tools or whatever. And we do have to do that. Well, the rest of the world, of course, is advanced in this way. They understand, but we need cheap ammunition and lots of supply and readiness to scale up if we need it, if we insist upon doing permanent expeditionary war halfway around the planet. So there's a big gap. I mean, it's not just that we didn't have a strategy for Iran. We have no strategy for what we've been doing for the past 4 years. And it's been revealed. This is scary, actually, because not just is it revealed how weak we are and how poorly led we are and how our system is inapplicable to modern war. It's also we're broke ass. Okay. We got no money. So now we've got ourselves in a problem where we have to have cheap weapons. I mean, we really are pressured to have cheap defenses.
Well, we also should maybe not do expeditionary war anymore.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Maybe Fortress Americas is the right way to,
That's right. Well, now I think Americans are ahead of the president and everybody on this. We've been voting for the peace president every single time he's run. And
since Woodrow Wilson.
That's right. We keep voting for him. And little by little, it just becomes the norm, and people are getting sick of it. They're like, okay, well, who's not going to go to war? And who's going to try to take care of something here at home? And we check and see who it is. And, honestly, that new, I don't know if it's going to be a party or a movement. I mean, whether it's, a cohesive movement or anything like that. But, the idea of independent, rational Americans who just want to put America first, not in capital letters, not on a rally, but they don't want wars. They would like to defend what we have and make it better. And really leverage the wealth of our country for the good of our people, which sounds like, well, don't all countries want to do that? Yeah, I think they probably do.
Except our leaders. Our leaders don't want to do that.
Don't want to do that. Right. That's right. So really, I hate to say this, but the shockingly poor performance and poor strategy or absent strategy. It's not even a poor strategy. There's no strategy. When you send an email out to a whole bunch of people and say, "Hey, got any ideas? Where we at?
Sounds like an after-school special or something.
Oh my God. So insane. And they
over $1 trillion doesn't buy what it used to.
No. And most of the ideas that are coming up are probably going to be just what we're talking about. Get your offense.
I'm sure there's going to be people watching these shows saying, "Oh, let's just there we go."
Yeah, you have to quit digging a hole. And how many times we well, if we're addicted to war, we're at the beginning of the 12-step program. We have reached rock bottom.
Actually, there's a little bit more we could do to really hit rock bottom.
Okay. Well,
that's why I brought up China. That's why I brought up Russia. Well, there's still another.
Well, with China in particular, with the way their Navy and sub capability and just everything that they have, and even their Air Force, they have sub-killing Air Force. They strap them on, I guess we have them too, but I mean, they can take our ships out, and they know that our reach and our military tip of the spear thing is our carriers. And of course, carriers, I hate to say it, an old kind of concept. They are obsolete and also very expensive, very profitable. They last a long, it takes forever to build one, and everybody gets rich. So and
they're getting crappier with every iteration.
Well, clearly with the Ford. I mean, there's another thing.
You know what that is? I keep telling people that's our Admiral Kuznetsov. Do you know the Russian Russian aircraft carrier that belches smoke? I mean, that's what that is. We have become the Soviet Navy.
We have. Well, actually, we've become the whole Soviet Union.
That's right.
We're trying to.
Trump is our Gorbachev.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah.
With hints of Yeltsin. With hints of Yeltsin.
More hints of Yeltsin. But because Gorbachev was a thoughtful person.
Yeah.
And I think like Putin is a thoughtful person. Putin gets criticized because he's
a strategist. I mean, it's clear he's a strategist. Whether his strategy works or not in Ukraine, we'll see.
And he studies
but it's a strategy.
Like that.
Right.
Yes. And Gorbachev, I think, was quite was very familiar with Western stuff.
Yeah. He worked for Andropov in the intelligence community before he was his aide in the KGB.
Trump is like, I think here's who was it? Andropov, or one of the ones that was a short-lived old one.
No, well, I always said that Biden was Chernenko. Right. Yeah, Chernenko is Biden.
Chernenko's the one, yes, because Chernenko was like, you never saw him say anything. It was just like the
and I've seen. You can find speeches of Chernenko, and he sounds like Biden. He slurs his words, and he's,
So you have the Chernenko, and then you get the Trump. And if he's not Yeltsin, and Yeltsin was kind of flamboyant, kind of out there, talking a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, maybe Trump.
But he had an excuse. He was an alkie. Trump doesn't drink, so he doesn't even have that excuse.
I hate to really pick on the whole alcohol issue because. I mean, like alcoholics have a problem, but teetotalers also.
I mean, Hitler was a teetotaler.
That's what I'm saying. It's like maybe we should just try to be rational, have a balanced life, And I don't drink. I'm not like saying, I have a glass of wine, so I'm balanced.
Right.
Be like, I don't drink. I'm a teetotaler, but I'm just saying.
You don't have delusions of grandeur, though. So, or confabulation, as Robert Barnes would say.
Yes, I don't think so.
Let me ask, because we're running out of time. I want to ask you one other thing, though, because you brought it up. Section 219 of the NDAA, as you say, that it hasn't been passed in the Senate yet. I think you and I both know it's going to get passed. I think Trump's going to sign it. But apparently, Scott Horton, my friend Scott Horton, has reported a couple hours ago on Twitter that, and I thought it was a joke, but apparently it's not. The former head of Mossad, who former, has been named as the lead person on this proposed board for the Israeli side. So when we pass the law fully and it gets enacted, the board will meet to figure out what technologies Israel is going to gain access to. And the lead person is going to be the former head of Mossad.
Yeah.
So is this just a smash and grab by Israel?
Well, it's a smash and grab by the military industrial complex. Really, Israel's a big part of that. Yeah, it's definitely in Israel's interest. But as long as the money's being made, where's the loyalty of our major corporations that provide military stuff? They're not loyal to the country. They're in the profit business. And
well, they're going to say they're being ordered by the military to do it. That's what they're going to say.
Well, yeah, but they love it. They love it.
Oh, yeah.
They love to. In fact, I'm sure that the big five corporations and defense industry people, they are saying, you know what, there's some benefits here. We'll get in tight with these Mossad folks. We're going to make some new friends. We're going to find out stuff, and they'll throw us bones every once in a while. We'll get more business this way. They're not care about this. I think the smash and grab is being done by the whole deep state. I think,
but I do think that the congressmen and the women and the senators and the president, if he signs this, I think that's treason. If we're going to be allowing the former head of Mossad to have complete access to all of our technical.
Well, look, we don't do this. If you picked any other country in the world, even like the Brits or any country that we admired, and did that, no, it would be treason. So why is it not treason when we're doing it with Israel? So and Trump has again, I should write an addendum to his offer him. He could, well, first he's get out of this thing, but he does have some anger and frustration with the Israelis. And if he does get his mojo back, which is my whole purpose in writing that Substack, was to help Trump get his mojo back, So if he gets it back, he could veto the NDAA. And he could say, all you military guys screwed me over. You lost the war. I'm blaming you for it. He
should.
Stuff. He should. If he was an honorable president with that one.
Well, it's not even honor. It's self-preservation.
Well, that's true too. But but I think he does see. I think Trump. Every once in a while, I get a glimpse of a sense that Trump does fear the Israelis, and maybe it's because they got something on him, but also that they're working him. He knows when he's being worked. Of course, he loves to be flattered, but he still also has some.
He also loves the money.
Well, that's true. He does,
because there's so much money between the donor class from Israel and the whole Trump family, either directly or indirectly.
And this war has been very profitable, so maybe he'll just run it, keep it going. Taco another 20 tacos, and he'll have the money that he needs. But no, if Trump was a president that was worthy of the name president, he would veto it, and he would veto it, like you said, very simply. This is treason. This is treason. Okay, this is the clear definition. You do not. All of the years of investment for whatever good and bad that the military has brought us, however, whatever state it's in, even if it's a crappy military, you don't give it to another country. You don't open up the books and say that, you don't. So I think he would, maybe there's a chance, but every once in a while an optimist comes in, maybe there's a chance. But I think honestly that Americans are going to have to wake up to a whole bunch of things that are interconnected. These wars are one thing, but our money system is nothing. Bessent, when he was interviewed, you had the Bessent thing. He's talking about this deal, but what is the context that he's talking about? The context is we need to save the yen because the yen buys our treasuries, and they're getting ready to dump a shitload of treasuries, and then we got a big problem. So he's dealing with a bigger problem that all Americans are going to pay for. We've been paying for it. We're going to pay for it some more. So I think it's almost time to dump it's not the deep state. We need to dump the state that has evolved. And we have an offering for that. It's called the Constitution. But our system is it's atrophied in a way that it's very difficult to change it. So this group that Tucker and all these people, these people that probably listen to your show, read your Substacks, and also all the other people, a lot of Mario's guests, the people that are paying attention. And they're putting two and two together, and they're going, oh, my God, this can't be saved. It's not just the war in Iran that's been lost and cannot be won. There's more problems that can't be. It's almost like we need to – the off-ramp includes a national bankruptcy. That's
coming. That's coming.
Well, I mean, you can go bankrupt. You can bankrupt yourself easy or bankrupt yourself hard. There's a way to do it by planning or like a controlled.
Well, yeah, but look at how we pulled out of Afghanistan. Look at how we pulled out of the Middle East here.
Nothing speaks to the fact that we're going to be able to do it.
It's going to be horrible when it happens.
Right. No landing gear. Can we land? Yeah, we'll be real careful. Nah, forget about it. We're diving in.
Well, and on that note, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you so much for the hour. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you, Karen. Check out her Substack. It's just her name, Karen Kwiatkowski at Substack. She's got a new piece up there that we've been referencing the whole night. Very entertaining piece, by the way. I'll share it on my social media too. I'm Brandon Weichert at We the Brandon, and the Weichert Brief is my Substack. Thank you, and God bless.